Hey guys, today I'm going to read a book for you, and it's called West on Mars by Charles L. Fontenay. It's written in 1958, so it's an old sci-fi classic. It's quite a short story, but it's very interesting, and it's in the public domain through the Project Gutenberg, so anybody are free to use it in any way they like it. Copy it, give it away, or reuse it. So I hope you like it, and let's get into it. This is the first chapter. Of all the planets, Peachy liked Mars best. Peachy was a salesman, and his territory was the inhabited planets and moons. There were things he liked about each one, even Earth, but he particularly enjoyed the gentle gravity of Mars, a gravity that made him feel as though he were flying when he walked in long, easy leaps, and yet didn't frighten him by letting him shoot halfway out of space. His stop at Mars in 2081 added an experience which Peachy considered an extraordinary piece of luck. Having supper with some land Brit in West on Mars was comparable to having tea with Shah Jahan in the Taj Mahal. The supper had been incomparable. Now the two of them sat in the dice room of the tower, warmed by green and orange blaze in the huge fireplace, and smoked the sweet, strong, foot-long cigars that are produced only in the Hadriacum lowlands of Mars. Beyond the double-thick glass of the window wall, the sun was setting behind the fantastic dunes of the Aeolia Desert. Around them, in the dim-lit room, the air was thick with cigar smoke, haunted by the aura of legend. The tales of the founding of West on Mars were vague. Peachy had heard the vast wealth that built it had been won on a single throw of a dice, that Brit had been driven to build it by hatred of a woman he loved, that he had built it above the bones of a man who had stolen his wife, that it was a memorial to his wife. While he was here, Peachy hoped to sift truth from fancy, for he was a man of romantic bent. Below them, the tower dropped down the side of the cliff to a clear dome on the now shadowed lowland of Lacus Lucrinus. The dome enclosed most of the majestic building and its exotic gardens from the thin, oxygen-poor Martian air. It was a daring conception, nowhere duplicated at an airtight building that projected high above its Pleistocene dome. Peachy inhaled a long, sweet draught of smoke and blessed the fact that his product was the latest in weather control units. Only for such a major purchase would some Lambrit have invited him here. "You aren't married, Mr. Brit," said Peachy, when the conversation provided him with an opening. "Don't you get lonesome out here, hundreds of miles from the nearest city, with no one around but robots?" "I have many tapes and films, Mr. Peachy," replied Brit, smiling. He was a short, slight man with close-cropped grey hair and round, guileless eyes. "I have my gardens, and the lowland of Lacus Lucrinus, and the desert." "Even so, I'm surprised you haven't found a woman to share all this beauty and wealth with you. I'm sure there are many of them who would be willing." "No doubt," replied Brit dryly. "But I'm a man of peculiar tastes. I enjoy my own thoughts, and generally I prefer my own viewpoint, unalloyed by the differing outlook of someone else. I find your company interesting for an evening, Mr. Peachy, but few women could share this isolation without becoming bored and consequently a nuisance." Then Peachy told Brit of his theory, that behind the accomplishments of every successful man somewhere lies the influence of a woman. It might be that his mother babied him far into puberty, and he achieved things to prove his integrity as an individual. It might be that he reacted to an unhappy love affair by proving himself a better man than his more fortunate rival. In my case, I was the only boy among 8 children, said Peachy. I close the freedom of traveling about through space, I think, through an unconscious desire to escape from a female-dominated society. I think achievement in any field is a sublimation of the sex drive. I understand you did not inherit any of your wealth, Mr. Britt, but amassed it all yourself. Britt was silent for a moment, contemplating the end of his cigar. And of course you're curious about the conflicting stories that are spread around the system, he suggested. Well, there was a woman, Mr. Peachy, but I'm afraid what occurred has nothing to do with your theory. So guys, that was the ending of the first chapter. And stay tuned for the next one in my next video. Thank you. Bye. Hey guys,